mentioned the Navy, for example, and that we have fewer ships than we did in 1916. Well, Governor, we also have fewer horses and bayonets because the nature of our military's changed. We have these things called aircraft carriers where planes land on them. We have these ships that go underwater, nuclear submarines. And so the question is not a game of battleship.
I think Romney decided that with the first debate he met the crucial threshold for being acceptable alternative to the presidency. And once he'd achieved that, then he was on a roll, because people aren't happy with the Obama record and they don't see an Obama agenda. It's like 1980. You just had to believe that Reagan was not a nutcase. Once he met the threshold to be acceptable alternative, it was over. And Romney reached that threshold in the first debate. So I think he made a calculated decision. He's not going to jeopardize that by getting into a fist fight. Obama, on the other hand, was, I think, attacking all the time, interrupting a lot. And the clip that we saw about the Navy stuff was a perfect example of his, I think, why he failed last night. It was small, condescending, and off the mark. I mean, what's the point he's trying to make? That because we have high-tech weaponry, we therefore don't need a Navy, or we need a smaller Navy? What does he think that we're retiring? Dinghies, three-masted schooners, skipjacks? What we're doing when we're shrinking the Navy is retiring really important capital ships. And he says, you know, Mr. Romney, you know, we have aircraft carriers. So what's his point here? That because it's high-tech and because it's a multiplier of power that we only have to have smaller ships? Aircraft carriers don't patrol alone. For every one that you have out there, you've got 10 times as many support ships. So that's not an argument for shrinking a Navy. And I'm not sure that there are a lot of people out there in Norfolk, Virginia, which he needs, who are going to be happy to hear that the Navy is obsolete and we can shrink it at will.
The president began what I've called an apology tour of going to various nations in the Middle East and criticizing America. I think they looked at that and saw weakness.
This has been probably the biggest whopper that's been told during the course of this campaign. And every fact checker and every reporter who's looked at it, Governor, has said this is not true.
Mr. President, the reason I call it an apology tour is because you went to the Middle East and you flew to Egypt and to Saudi Arabia and to Turkey and Iraq. And by the way, you skipped Israel, our closest friend in the region. But you went to the other nations. And by the way, they noticed that you skipped Israel. And then in those nations, and on Arabic TV, you said that America had been dismissive and derisive. You said that on occasion, America had dictated to other nations. Mr. President, America has not dictated to other nations. We have freed other nations from dictators.
If we're going to talk about trips that we've taken, you know, when I was a candidate for office, first trip I took was to visit our troops. And when I went to Israel as a candidate, I didn't take donors. I didn't attend fundraisers. I went to Yad Vashem, the Holocaust Museum there, to remind myself the nature of evil and why our bond with Israel will be unbreakable. And then I went down to the border towns of Sderot, which had experienced missiles raining down from Hamas.
Charles. That was, I thought, the moment of this debate. I think that's where Romney scored the zinger when he said America doesn't dictate, America liberates other countries. And then Obama goes off into a fog about trips he's taken. He says, since we're talking about trips, this isn't about competing travel logs. The issue here is about when a president is on foreign soil, does he denigrate the United States or does he defend the honor and the purpose and the nobility of the United States? And that is the crucial issue. You know, people don't care that much about our policy in Syria, and they care nothing about our policy in Mali, which we heard a lot about. They care about how we're seen in the world and how we defend ourselves and carry ourselves in the world. And that, I thought, was a devastating statement that Romney made, and Obama had nowhere to go on that.
This campaign, I've laid out a plan for jobs and middle-class security. And unlike Mitt Romney, I'm actually proud to talk about what's in it. Because my plan actually will move America forward.
His is a status quo candidacy. His is a message of going forward with the same policies of the last 4 years. And that's why his campaign is slipping, and that's why ours is gaining so much steam.
When your closing argument is holding up a glossy where there's nothing in it and saying, I've got a plan, read it, you've got nothing. The fact is they tried their ideology in the first term. They went with the stimulus. They went with Obamacare. They went with regulation. They went with everything. And they got an economy that's the worst recovery since the Second World War, and it is slowing. So what are they going to offer? He's not going to he could have done a Clinton and gone back to the center as he did in '96 and sort of triangulated and proposed a lot of centrist stuff. That's not Obama. It's not who he is. And he doesn't have an agenda. Everybody knows it. And he's run on Kill Romney. And that worked because he had all the money and there were no answers to all those ads until the first debate, and he's run out of ideas. That's his problem right now.
All right, so
This has been a Sunfish production.